And now we're just going to move along to getting your home ready to sell. I'm sure everybody just feels this way when you decide it's come time to sell, because I know all the stuff our house has, and it does give you a big headache just thinking about it, and it can be very overwhelming. And when it comes time to downsize, who can you ask to help? And it is okay to ask your family and friends. Don't be shy about doing that, but also don't be disappointed if they say no. A few years ago, we had a client that moved and she didn't have any family here. And I asked her, who's going to help you? And she said, that's okay, my friends will help me. And when it came time on moving day, when I was over there with her and I met her friends, all they could say was, we're in our 80s and we're too old to be doing this. So her friends were also overwhelmed with the move. But there are bonded and insured companies that specialize in assisting seniors with the move. And they help you with downsizing your home, as well as they'll take items that you don't want to keep. They'll take it to charity or possibly to an auction. But if you're going to go with a company like this, it's very important that you make sure that they do have the proper insurance and that they are bonded. And also just to keep in mind that the Kirby Center has an information department, and they have a database. So you can call up to the Kirby and ask for the information department, and they can give you names of companies that do the downsizing, or you could also check with the Better Business Bureau about this as well. And of course, when we're working with our clients, we have companies that our clients have used over the years as well. There, you hear now staging. It's a common term that people use when it comes time to selling their home. But typically what it is just getting your home ready to put on the market. And the best thing to do is start packing. There's two parts to staging. You can stage your own home to live in it, and that you're just making it comfortable in the way you like it. But when it comes time to sell, it's important that you stage your home properly so that it's appealing to buyers when they come and take a look at your property. And when you are staging your home, the best way to think about it is a hotel. When you go to stay in a hotel, and personally, I consider myself a 5-star girl, think of what that hotel room looks like when you walk in. It's spotless, it's nice and clean, and there really isn't too much out there on the dressers. The bed is made. It just looks so nice and appealing. This is how your home should be looking as well. So when you start getting your home ready and packing up, just always think of a hotel. And if you do pass the hotel test, then you know you're on the right track. So there are rooms that are really critical when it comes time to selling your home. Most buyers really like to see a kitchen that's nice and clean. This is the time where you need to turn on your oven and clean it, because it's amazing when we're showing property. It seems to be the first appliance that people go to, and they'll open up the oven door, and a dirty oven can turn off a lot of people. So put away items that are out there on your counter that you really don't need, and just make sure that your kitchen sparkles. And with bathrooms, they should be spotless as well. When somebody's looking in your home, they don't really want to see your toothbrush or your shampoo bottles on your bathtub. It's really important that you completely clear those items. Plus, you don't want people being around your personal items as well. And with closets as well, buyers will open up closet doors, and if they're too jam-packed with items that are falling out, they'll just think that this home doesn't have enough storage space. And with your master bedroom as well, it's an important room. So we suggest that you clear off your dresser. It's okay to have a few knickknacks out there, but not too many. And this would be the time that you make sure your bed is made as well, and organize your closet just so that your room looks spacious and very appealing. And one big thing is odors. They can turn people off. If you are a smoker, I suggest if you're thinking of selling your house, you might want to stop smoking now, because it's really a big turnoff in the marketplace. And actually we had one buyer that was looking at a property, and in the laundry room, I thought the walls were painted gold. And when we went in there, actually it was the nicotine. The owner smoked in her laundry room and the walls were just gross. And so the painter had to go in and use special products just to get rid of that odor. And we also had a property listed for sale. It just looked fantastic. She did a really good job with staging it. And we had a realtor open house. And when I went back to the office, the realtors were saying, that house smelled, what was that odor? And when I thought, what, are you kidding me? It was fine. So when I went back to the house, I asked the seller, what did you do? There was such a strong odor. And she said, oh, I cooked fish last night. And that house was known as the fish house. So it's just really important that you really watch with the foods you're cooking, and just to try and avoid cooking with strong spices while you're trying to sell your house. And even sometimes people will get those plug-in deodorizers, and that can be a turnoff as well when you walk into a house and that's all you can smell is some really heavy scent. And often buyers are wondering if maybe you're trying to hide something. The best way is just to open your window and let the fresh air come in. And property inspections are quite common. If you do have a home that you're going to be selling, this is the time that perhaps before you put your house on the market, you start taking a look at the repairs that you have been neglecting. And sometimes people get carried away with what they do to get their home ready. It's not necessary that you spend thousands of dollars to get your home ready. There might be just simple little fixes that you can do. And Peter is the one, when we're working with buyers, he goes on the home inspection with the buyer. So Peter, do you want to talk a little bit about what a home inspector looks for?
Yeah, home inspections, they're actually very common. And pretty much every buyer has a home inspection now. And this is paid for the buyer. It's not paid for by the seller. But keep in mind that this inspector is working for that buyer, and their job basically is to find problems in the home and bring it to the buyer's attention. So they spend a lot of time in the basement going over the mechanical system, checking out the furnace, the hot water tank. They go through the electrical. So in a lot of the older homes, what we find is that people did their basement developments themselves, and quite often they didn't get the permits. And this is something that is coming up more and more often now. The buyers tend to want to have city permits on these things. So this might be something that you would want to give some consideration to, or have an electrician look at your plugs to make sure that everything has been done properly. Another thing that seems to be getting a lot of attention right now on the realtor chat lines is poly B piping. There's a lot of realtors and home inspectors that are making an issue of this. And if you're in a home that was built in the late 80s or the 90s, it probably has poly B piping. That's the gray pipe that is used, the plastic gray pipe that's used for your hot water and cold water. And there's concern that this pipe over time breaks down. Apparently, there are a lot of insurance companies that will no longer insure houses if they have that type of piping. And we've never had that problem. I'm in a house that was built in 1992. We have poly B piping in our home. It's not an issue. We've never had a leak. And I have changed insurance companies over the years, and poly B has never come up. But I think this is something that maybe you should be aware of, that it could be an issue. There are people that say they want the seller to replace all the piping so that it's coming up to date, today's code, and they don't have any problems. But a lot of this stuff, that a home inspector finds and a buyer has a problem with, they tend to want to renegotiate on the price. So if the inspector is finding problems, usually the buyer will come back and say, okay, this was an issue, we want this fixed or we want that fixed, and then it's up to the buyer and the seller to agree what that's going to look like, if the buyer or the seller rather pays for all of it, or if it's a combination and everybody kicks in a little bit, or however that works. But this is something that's coming up more and more often now. What we're finding is that a lot of the younger people, they want everything done for them. They don't want to be involved in any home repairs whatsoever. So this just seems to be the reality of the real estate market now. As a seller, of course, you have the option to say, no, what, I'm selling the house as is, the problem is yours. And we'll see what happens with that, right? But this is just something to be aware of, that the mechanical system seems to be the main focus of what the home inspectors look at. They do go into the attics and check the insulation and that sort of thing. That's usually not a problem, but they do go up there and take a look. So sometimes when they're up there, they can see that the roof had been leaking. Of course, there's the telltale signs with spots on the ceiling, where the stipple is maybe a little bit yellow. If you see those kinds of things, it's probably best to have that looked at. Like Debbie said, some of these things you don't need to fix. But in my experience, when a home inspector is going through the property with the buyer, and the question always comes up, what do you think this is going to cost to repair? Most inspectors aren't contractors. So the first number that comes out of their mouth is always around $10,000. And it might be a fairly simple fix, and $10,000 is an unrealistic number. So if you can, hire an electrician on your own and go do whatever repairs and maybe pay $500, that's a heck of a lot cheaper than all of a sudden trying to negotiate $10,000 down. So it's something to keep in mind.
And don't be too worried. There's always a resolution for every concern.
Yeah.
And it's just really important that your home is in a good condition when it goes onto the market, because your first impression is most important when people walk through a first time. You want them to get excited about your home. And most buyers, like Peter said, the younger generation, they don't want to do a lot of repairs. They just want to move into a house. So if your property is clean and spiffy, that's the best way to go. And we also have professional photographers that'll take a picture of your home, and the pictures go on the internet now, so people all over the world would be able to see your home, and we want to make sure that you're proud.